I've designed a plan. I call it your life plan.
Life plan?
Everything's here. The minute of the hour of the day of the week of the month of the year of your life. Everything.
Welcome to What the Flick, everybody. Ben, Alonzo, and Christy. Which one are we starting with? Little Prince?
Little Prince.
Little Prince.
The Little Prince.
The Little Prince.
Please.
So based on the novel by Antoine de Saint-Exupery that you pretended to understand when you were in high school, the movie, it's an animated film, and it kind of makes the story of the Little Prince as we know it a story within a story, which is a valid tactic. The main story here is about a young, overburdened girl whose mother is putting a lot of academic pressure on her to do a lot of studying over summer vacation to get into a fancy prep school. But she finds herself distracted by the eccentric old codger next door, voiced by Jeff Bridges, who tells her the story of the Little Prince. Take a look.
Once, when I was 6 years old, I believed something very simple. That what is most important is invisible to the eye.
Well, this is our little corner of the universe.
But then I grew up. I forgot all about being a child.
We will find a way home.
Until something miraculous happened.
We will find a way home. We will find a way home. It goes straight to the heart.
I'm not so sure I want to grow up anymore.
Growing up is not the problem. Forgetting is.
Wow. Once upon a time, there was a little prince who lived on a planet that was scarcely bigger than himself, and who had need of a friend.
This movie is so beautiful.
It's gorgeous.
Like in terms of the mix of textures, and it's so tactile. Some of it looks like it is clay, some of it looks like it's wood, and then there's a real delicacy
Paper.
to their clothing, right? Like you'll see them from behind, and the wind will be whipping a scarf or whatever, and it's like transparent, almost like crepe paper. It's so gorgeous, and the colors are wondrous, and the voice cast is great. And it's really beautiful and strange and whimsical and awesome until it isn't.
Yes,
I was
yes.
gonna say, when I didn't see
You
it,
know
I
me.
didn't see it, but when Christy starts talking about how it looks that enthusiastically right at the beginning, like, I was like, oh man, there's a huge butt coming here, and it's so obvious.
Big
butt.
It gets really literal and really heavy-handed, like all of a sudden.
Yeah, the third act, it just takes this detour that undoes the whole thing. And you're right, up until that point, it's so gorgeous. It's beautiful to look at, and it's moving, and it really captures the original story, but it also incorporates it into this other story really well. And some purists may just immediately be like off-put by that, but I would argue that that's a valid way to do it. I mean, one of my favorite versions of Les Miserables, the non-musical, is the 1995 Claude Lelouch one, which is still not out on DVD and needs to be. But that one incorporates the novel within a story about a truck driver during World War II who's taking Jews out of France, and the parallels between his story and Jean Valjean. And you know, I adore that movie. And so I was down with the notion of, you've got Jeff Bridges as this sort of retired pilot with a big plane in his backyard. And I love the design of this movie. Like, it's set in this suburb that's sort of a cross between like the Jacques Tati sterile city from Playtime and the suburbs from Edward Scissorhands.
I was thinking Edward Scissorhands as well, yeah.
Yeah, like it's all very boxy, and like from overhead it looks like a microchip, you know, kind of thing. And then his is the one house that's all sort of eccentric and has the weird foliage growing out all over the place.
And he even admits that he's a hoarder. It's a funny thing where he has a whole discussion with himself, like, I like I collect things, I hoard, I might be a hoarder. You know? And so it's definitely timeless in that it could be whenever.
Yeah.
It's relatable. And it's relatable as a parent as far as the relationship between the mother and the little girl. The mother's voiced by Rachel McAdams. The little girl's Mackenzie Foy, who was Matthew McConaughey's daughter in Interstellar. And the pressure that she puts on her, and at first you think that the mother is really cold and controlling, but you see in time where that comes from and what she wants for her daughter. And so that bond is very touching, as is the one she has with Jeff Bridges as her sort of surrogate father, grandfather figure, whatever. So there's a great kind of timelessness to it, but also a real relevance now to what it's like to be a parent. And then there is the Albert Brooks businessman figure who is kind of Donald Trump.
A little bit, yeah.
It's kind of an allegory for our time, The Little Prince, in that he is this greedy businessman who wants all the stars for himself to power up his empire or whatever, and that's where it gets a little heavy.
Does he make fun of people with disabilities?
Not this one.
No.
Does he tell people who are sexually harassed at work to quit?
He's atrocious.
Didn't come up.
He tells babies to stop crying, though. There's that. No, but he's kind of atrocious in his own way, in that, he represents greed and corporate America, I guess,
materialism.
Whatever.
Yeah. I love this movie so much until it really messes itself up, and I still want to recommend that people see it. It's having a limited theatrical run, but it's going to be screening on Netflix, so you can watch it at home and not have to pay any extra for it. So see it to see the stuff that's so good, and then just know that there's a poison pill coming later that's going to kind of botch the movie, unfortunately.
Yeah. Although I don't know that for kids that will register. So I brought Nicholas with me. He's almost 7, and he really liked it the whole way through. And the stuff that he asks questions about afterward are about the section that we had problems with.
Interesting.
So he was engaged by that in some way on a level that we were not.
Okay.
So we were all taken by the childlike whimsy of it. And he's
Right.
like, I want to know more about the businessman and his nefarious desires and wants. So yeah, it's...
I like the idea that he said nefarious.
He did not. As we'll talk about next week with 9 Lives, we had a long conversation, Nicholas and I, about Kevin Spacey.
As you do.
Oh, sure.
Talking about
And he's not yet 7.
He's almost 7.
Wow, that's...
In November. I'm so proud. I'm a great mom.
What should parents do when your children ask questions about Kevin Spacey?
Anyway, so Little Prince, I would say great for all ages. See it at home, see it in the theater. If you see it in the theater, though, it's going to be bigger.
It is gorgeous, and even though it is, I found it ultimately disappointing. The good stuff is so good that you should see it.
Wait, also, besides Albert Brooks and Jeff Bridges, you also have Ricky Gervais and
Paul Rudd.
Paul Rudd is in it, and it's a really good voice.
And I forget who the kid who voices the Little Prince is, but he's terrific.
He's very good.
You know, Christy, I think before we go, let's just say, because he's our friend, and it's worth mentioning, that most people, I think, in my experience, and maybe it's because of my own insecurities, but I think most people who see a movie and instantly recall that it reminds them of Jacques Tati and Edward Scissorhands, I think most of those people are asses, right? Because they sound like it, right? And Alonso has this gift of,
You do.
one, you can recall it so quickly, which is incredibly impressive, and it makes me want to talk to you more. It's just a rare thing in this world.
You're sweet. I'm sure the commenters might have another take on that, but whatever. Thank you, Ben. I appreciate it.
Don't read them.
I don't. I'm getting out of the habit.
All right.
What is your number, my well-versed friend?
I gave it a 6.8. I think it is just shy of being as great as it could have been, but there's a lot there to love.
I say 6.8. So our average is really easy math for me, 6.8, and it is 96%.
Wow.
People really liked it.
Yeah, they like it.
Yeah, this had a weird history where Paramount sort of dumped it, and then Netflix scooped it up.
It's going to come out last year, I think, right?
Possibly, yeah. I don't know, or maybe maybe
You
Paramount.
should tell people, though, that for that Netflix version, Adam Sandler is going to voice all the movies.
No, not the ones that David Spade does, and or Nick Swartzen. All right, bye.